Okay, we're going good now. Okay, so the photo that was taken here is at my grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary. This was in Brooksville. I'm not sure what year it was, maybe 71, 72, I'm not sure. But it was their 50th wedding anniversary. And they lived in Brooksville, and I mean, they had an interesting life, but here they are, 50 years being married to each other. But the reason I'm staying on this picture is not because of so much of their marriage. It's because we need to talk about this fellow right here. His name is Clyde Johnson. Clyde Johnson was my grandfather. Initially, he was open, available, cuddly, all warm and embraceable, and just to be, a typical grandfather. And it turned out he was much more than that. He ended up being a sexual predator. And then the sexual predator in the sense that he sexually abused his own children, incestual. It's awful. He molested my mom, Faye Dennis, my uncle, Bud Dennis, molested them both as children, and also molested other children. So he's not a very good person, and to the day he died, my mom just loved her daddy. She loved her father. She loved him, and he was a if you didn't if you could just forget one part of the guy, he's okay, but it's impossible to forget what he did. And then of course Nan, a wonderful lady, kind, fun, gentle, but she had to know what was going on with my dad, or my mom and my uncle. That's a tough thing to talk about, but he was not a nice man. This is more pictures of their wedding anniversary. And that's my mom at the bottom there. On the bottom right. Yeah. That's a picture of my grandmother, Ruby Johnson. A picture of grandfather and grandmother. My grandfather, my dad, while he was in service. Looks like, I can't figure it, looks like 53. My dad there, looks like maybe 32 or something like that. Again, young, there he is. My dad. Good picture of my dad and his dad. My dad had to be tough. John was a tough man to live with. Plus, he physically abused his wife, too, which is more good news from the family. He's physically abused his wife, Jane, really bad. Apparently he had a very bad temper, and his wife paid the brunt for it. Awful. My dad, looks like. My dad, good picture. In the Air Force, Dad, there we go. That's a good picture here. Dad and his mother, my grandmother, just enjoying life, sitting on a bench. That's a good picture. They both look pretty relaxed there. My dad on the lake. The dog Toby, I guess. Looks like Jane with a big fish. Or not Jane. Oh my God, Mary with a big fish. I'm not sure what kind of fish it is, but it's big. Good picture of Dad. Handsome guy. Oh my God, the Three Stooges. You know who this is. Me, my sister, and me, bro. Yeah. The only picture that I know anything of is here in the top right. That is Benjamin Lovelace. That is my great grandfather when he was young. God knows what year this is. I have no idea who those other people are. My brother and myself. Again. Looks like my dad's showing off a fish. Yeah, with his cap on. John. Ruby. She loved her garden. She loved her yellow. She loved to dress up. Ben. Granny. Bud. Bud was a tragic figure. He was a severe alcoholic, and he killed himself at the age of 38. He could never get his life together. He just could not get his life together. And knowing what we all know now, God knows how any of us would have tried to deal with life, knowing that had happened to somebody that was, really awful. It's just awful. Anyway, he was married twice. He had 2 children. Pam was the first child, and Craig was the second child. Johnson would have been his name. My brothers, this is very sad. My sisters and I and brothers, we just, it was a sad thing. He was really a pretty cool guy. He just couldn't get his act together when it came to the drink, and it killed him. 38. Okay, moving on. Another picture of Bud. This is a picture of my real grandmother, Jane Martin, or like that's what it says at the bottom, or at the middle there. That's Jane. Jane had, from our experiences as children and growing up, she was kind of crazy, and we don't know what happened to her. We don't know why she was like that, but she just was, and it was sort of a burden to my dad, and it was a tough thing for him because he saw his mother deteriorating. We went up there and saw her, and it was bad. Then she came and stayed with us, and I happened for some reason I was living at home at the time, and I was not comfortable with her being in the house because I knew she was kind of wacky, and so Dad got her in control, took her down to her room across from where I'm at, put her in there, closed the door, and he knocked on the door. He said, "Look, son, you don't have to worry about her tonight. You'll be okay. Don't lock your door. You'll be okay." I was like, "Okay." So he closed the door, and then I locked the door. Well, good thing I did. A couple hours later, there was a lot of beating and framming and pounding on my door, and she had gotten confused where she was, and my dad had to come down there and get her back in her bed, and I'm thinking, Jesus, I'm sure glad the damn door was closed because she would have come after me. Not that she would have done anything, it was just, you don't have to deal with something like that. This poor woman had lost her mind. It was very sad. But God knows what kind of life she had with her husband. Picture of Jane. Me and a friend. This is Pam Johnson. This is Clyde Johnson, or Bud Johnson's first daughter and only daughter. That's Valerie, and that's Pam Johnson. Notice the red hair. Valerie was Bud's first wife. She seemed to be like a very nice person, and Pam was our youngest cousin, so we always hung out together. We had a lot of fun. This was a picture of when we went to Brooksville. My grandparents, Clyde and Ruby. There was a stream behind the house, big stream, and it went all back through woods. We'd go spend half a day in that creek, just playing in the creek. So, yeah, I mean, at the time you think, doesn't everybody do this? So, the good times. That's my sister, and then Pam in front of her, just playing in the creek. Looks like Bud Johnson and Doyle. Doyle was sort of the same situation with Bud. Severe alcoholic, just ruined his life. It was a very sad thing to see. I don't know what happened to those fellas, but they just couldn't get it together. Ruby, dressed out there, and I'm not sure who she's holding there. She's dressed out there. Clyde Johnson and Clyde Johnson Jr., father and son. Looks like Bud. Got it look like maybe a 22. Looks like a 22 there he's got. Clyde and Ruby sitting on the porch. Well, I don't have any idea what year that car is, but it looks pretty looks pretty old. There's Bud, red shirt, Craig, and Kurt on the right. That's at Bud's house in Lutz, Florida. Probably about 1967. Craig Johnson is Bud Johnson's youngest child on the left. Curtis is a child from his second marriage. And a picture of that. Bud just hanging up by the lake, trying to look cool. I guess he looks like he hadn't eaten about 2 months. And he's trying to be cool, hanging out by the river, doing whatever. That looks like a cane showing off. He was a country boy. I mean, I don't get that. Look at that behind him. I mean, that's Nan. You didn't protect your boy. Bud looks like he some kind of military service or something. That's Grandpa and Ruby. Ben Lovelace. Looks like he's in the garden there with a bunch of trees. Ben and Frona. Ruby Johnson. Ruby she'd like to gamble. Not big stakes, of course. She just liked to gamble a lot. Smoke cigarettes nonstop. Lucky strikes. Led a long life, though. Lived to be 87. Nice picture of her, but I'm not sure where that is. This is a picture of her. That's Nan right there. And that's Nell. That's her sister. I have no idea who those other folks are. That's a good picture of Nan right there. Not sure what's going on. It was a shadow or something going on. But look at that. She'd love to dress up, boy. Let's just look at that dress. I'm sure they didn't have much money. They were, as this picture pretty much sums it up. This is a picture that sums up a lot of things. There she is, hanging out by the lake. This is a good picture here. This is both my grandmothers, Johnson and Dennis. And yeah, they both look both look amazing. I mean, look at those dresses. And of course, it looks like Jane's smoking, and maybe Nan is too. But I mean, this is a good picture. This may be like one of the old pictures. You know, look, you could see this. Looks like that, but you look at the background. You know, if you look at the background for any of this stuff, it's all, Cracker Shacks or stuff like that, which I think we talked about some about. This is a picture of Nan in front of her house in Tampa. Not really sure what year, but this is about 1965. It's a fair lane, and behind her it's red, and that was the street they lived in. But directly to one side on the left is where their house was. This looks like Brooksville, with Nan holding her pet dog. This picture is Nan in Brooksville with Lola, just doing something on a Saturday evening, probably just doing dishes. Just killing time. And speaking of killing time, we're going to kill it. We'll be back again. Don't go away.